All right. Hey, guys, it's Nathan from the Landlord Academy and Bryan Chavis with bryanchavis.com. Just wanted to welcome you to our content segment. We've been filming our masterclass for the last couple of weeks, and we're really excited to share that with you. And we just shot a video about the top pitfalls that landlords face. A lot of time, we get into investing, we realize that even good investors actually make mistakes. So Bryan, I would like to talk to you about, the top 10 things that investors, the mistakes that they make. I wonder if you could just really break down why it's important to think about these things.
Absolutely. I think when I wrote the book, Nathan, I added those top 10 things because, those were, excuse me, those were top 10 things that affected me. So
Right.
pretty much everything that that I write about, are from real life experiences. Courses that I designed are based on what I felt was missing when I was trying to gather information, that I think, would help speed things or speed a process along. These top 10 things are what I think, the top 10 things that I actually thought that, I could have catapulted me a little faster, things that I got hung up on. So, are things that, I thought helped me out that, others weren't really doing. So that's kind of how we got the top 10 list, which leads me off to not continue to educate yourself. That's
Right.
number one. And forgive me, I got a little under the weather, so I'm going to be talking, out of my nose right now. But the not educating yourself was something that that I never did. I was always educating and training myself. I think,
Right.
you've been around me enough when you've shown me platforms where you can get educated, web or podcasts or whatever, when you shared something with me, I was, it didn't fall on deaf ears. I immediately went to research it and, and if I thought it was valuable, which, 9 times out of 10, if it came from you, it was valuable. And I jumped in,
Yeah.
Education and training is key, man. So, I see that a lot with individuals, and then also, understanding where you're getting your knowledge and training from, because there's individuals who want to advise you, and there's individuals that want to sell something to you. So you just got to be really careful where you're getting your knowledge, and where you're going to, what groups and organizations are you hanging around with to receive that education and training. So you just want to make sure you're around individuals who are practitioners, who are
Right.
actually doing what it is they say they're doing. There's tons of places you can go and get education now, great places. You got your Bigger Pockets, you have your podcasts, you've got unlimited amount of podcasts. For me, I'm not so much on Bigger Pockets because I think it's a great platform for the beginner,
Yeah.
the guys that are just starting out. So I kind of hang around, probably, more of the CBRE guys and take a lot of the training that they do, and they have. And of course, I try to work with my own personal team members developing content, because I just feel like at the end of the day, I haven't found content out there that I've been overly excited about, based around the syndication and apartment training and property management, so, that's why I'm really focused. Not to say there isn't great content out there, because there is.
Right.
I just felt like, for me, it's much easier for me to develop the content. But no matter what, there's tons of content out there, and there's tons of great educators out there. You got your Rod Khlees, you got your Joe Fairless, you got Bigger Pockets. No matter what level you're at, I just
Right.
think these are all great platforms for individuals to go and get educated. And the number one thing is to go and get educated.
Well, let me ask you a question. So, when you talk about getting educated, not educating yourself, what are some of the things that investors can educate themselves on? Maybe focusing on where they can make mistakes,
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, so let's break it down. As an investor, there's 2 places where you got to be careful. As an investor, you want to make sure that you understand how to read markets. So you're at the education and training and understanding, how not to just read a prospectus or an offering memorandum and go out there and make offers on properties, but really understand how to perform your COTA evaluation on the regional COTA process, strategic evaluation of a target area. So you're identifying your target markets and identifying at the neighborhood, at the neighborhood and the state level, and even at the national level. You want to kind of start at the national level and work your way down to the state. Once you've located a state that you're interested in, Texas, Florida, then you kind of work your way into the neighborhood level. So understanding that process and allowing that process to help you make the decisions versus, you making decisions based on the physical property that you've seen. For me, I like to make decisions based upon my prospect tenants demographic. And then from there, I look for property versus people looking at offering memorandums. They look at properties first, and then they go out and try to seek a tenant. For me, I'm more so focused on the tenant, and we'll talk a little bit more, as we drill down to some of these some of the most common mistakes. But for me, we've just learned yesterday that we have an inverted yield curve. Short-term rates are outpacing long-term rates, which everyone says is a key sign for a recession. I think I talked about that last year, and now here it is. So what does that mean? It means something. It means a heck of a lot of something, because at the end of the day, Nate, at the end of the day, it's extremely important that we understand that how this affects your how a recession will affect your prospect tenant. I mean, when people, you've heard the term, no one wants to be caught catching a dropping knife.
Correct.
Right. What does that mean? I mean, I can tell you what that means. You don't want to buy an apartment building right now and then have the market change on you. So again, as I said last year, I think I said this. Yeah. I think I first spoke about an inverted yield. I first spoke about an inverted yield curve, and what that meant, how that triggers a recession or signs of a recession. Sorry, that was my phone. But what does that mean? So if we know we have an indicator like an inverted yield curve, short-term rates outpacing long-term rates, if we have a warning sign, what does that mean? What does one need to do as an investor, as a syndicator, as a current landlord? What does this mean? It may mean something, it may mean nothing. So for me, it never means nothing. It's going to affect your prospect tenant some way, shape, or form. So does that mean that in a looming recession, are there going to be job cuts, hours cut back? Where's your tenant base? Do the majority of your tenants, do the majority of these individuals, work at a superstore like Walmart, Target? Are their hours and wages are going to be cut back? If these things are happening to your prospect tenant, then obviously you're going to have an issue with possible delinquencies increasing, vacancies increasing. You may have a softening in rents depending on what market you're in. At the end of the day, so if you're in the Class A market, in the core markets, you may be more insulated.
Right.
People said, including you, Bryan, why aren't you looking at the low income housing or moderate income housing anymore? Those are higher cap rates. And I think I told you, well, it's been far too we've been in a great market for far too long. Right. I got to start focusing on buying properties that are well positioned that against possible headwinds to come, i.e. a recession. And that's why I focused on our core markets. Of course, there are lower cap rates, but in my opinion, I'll be insulated against some of the issues that may arise. And right. Trust me, these recessions and this recession that is looming, this is going to affect the middle income demographic a lot harder than it would the young professionals that I cater to right. At the end of the day. So, you can chase yield and you can chase higher cap rates, but there's always a there's always a cause and effect. So right. If you're out there chasing higher cap rates and that's what you're doing, you have to also understand those higher cap rates mean higher risk. And you're dealing with a much more volatile demographic, prospect tenant. And that particular demographic, that particular prospect tenant, they're more likely to be affected by this recession that we're probably most likely will be entering into.
Right. So that, I mean, that just shows that there's a level of sophistication that is there as an investor. Why it's really important to educate yourself. Having money and good credit and the desire to purchase a property, that's great, but
Absolutely.
you really
Yeah,
need to make
having
sure.
money, having money means nothing. I mean, we talked
Right.
about that yesterday. Everybody wants to lead off,
Right.
with that conversation. How do I find money? No one ever asks, how do I get educated?
Right.
Yesterday I did our meetup yesterday, and the number one question was, where do I find the money? Why do you need to find money if you have no clue what it is you're doing? If you haven't mastered your skill sets, why are you out there finding money? It's like a
I,
boxer trying to
right.
find a match and ain't even trained.
And you get knocked out. And I can tell you, my first foray into the stock market, I remember, I had all the money I needed, and I got rocked. I
Yeah.
wasn't educated. I wasn't educated, so it was a waste of my time. I would say it's not necessarily a waste because I learned a valuable
You
lesson.
learn, but you learn the hard way.
Exactly, and I would have much rather
We
just
all will learn. You can learn, but you want to try to avoid learning the hard way. And the older
absolutely.
you get, learning the hard way doesn't quite, the math doesn't quite add up learning the hard way. You're in your 30s, you're in your 40s, and you're still learning the hard way.
Right.
It doesn't add up. So I guess for me, it's, I don't get frustrated, but I have a pause for concern. It's like,
Yeah.
how do I make money? How do I raise money? No, it's not about how you raise money. It's how do you get educated first. Again, I use the scenario of a boxer, wanting a match and doesn't want to train. You can get a match and then you find out, when you get into that ring and you enter that ring and you get rocked,
Right.
it's like, oh man, I should have trained first. Yeah. So you learn the hard way. And it hurts to learn the hard way, when you get hit across the jaw. So at the end of the day, if you train, the match will come. If you
Right.
train, you're ready, the match will come. The money will come. If you train and educate yourself, the money's going to come. And that's where you really have to, now that we're coming into this recession, a lot of these gurus and experts, selling packages and workshops and boot camps and seminars, a lot of people are going to have to really, you're really going to have to dive deep into stuff that people don't like to talk about that I specialize in, which is the property management, the operations side of things, because, to get a project from point A to point B is going to really be all about operations, but people don't want to talk about operations because
Before we get into that, we shot a video on that, and that's the number two thing is that investors don't necessarily follow the proper system. So can you explain why that's important, why that's a mistake that investors tend to face by not following systems?
Yeah, just not having your systems, putting it. Well, here's the thing, not knowing what systems are. If you buy an investment property, I'm just going to hand it to a property manager.
Right.
And here we come possibly into a recession. If you're just handing your property off or projects off to a property manager, because that's what the books say and the experts say. You're not Grant Cardone. You're not buying an institutional grade asset.
Right.
That has a somewhat of a sophisticated management company already in place. You know what I mean? So you're not working with a CBRE with a great management team already in place, or third party, second party management operations already ready to plug into. These individuals are highly sophisticated. If you're buying anywhere from under 80 units and below, 4 to 80 units, at the end of the day, it's you can pass that along to a property manager, but at the end of the day, are they sophisticated? The chances are they may not be. And so, they may not know how to navigate. So the proper systems are really important. Understanding, there's two types of systems when it comes to operating an apartment building. There are soft systems and your hard systems.
Okay.
Anybody's ever read the E-Myth, they'll know what I'm talking about. The soft systems are the, your property management software, your Buildium. We're looking at this new one up top, which is a free property management software, giving them a shout out. And Buildium and Appfolio, and then you have your hard systems, which are your procedures manuals, your operations manuals in place. And those operations manuals are extremely important. They identify the work that needs to be done, and then they tell the user how to go about performing that work. So, I don't care if you're a syndicator or an investor and you pass it along to a third party or a second party property management company. You need to know how to operate that property. You need to know whether or not the individuals you just handed the keys to know how to operate the property. So it's extremely important that you understand the systems, that you have some sort of fundamental training in property management well before you get started investing in apartment buildings. It should be a prereq that you take a property management course and receive some sort of property management training before you ever talk about investing or syndicating or anything of the like. So in my opinion, because at the end of the day, in a recession, you're going to see who's swimming naked when the low tide comes. When the tide comes in and goes out, you're going to see who's swimming naked. And there's a lot of folks out here swimming naked that buying up properties that really don't want to really understand fundamentals.
Yeah,
and you're going to see.
And we've seen that too. There's and no disrespect to the athletes and the celebrities. They have the money and they have the resources, and they will tell you, there's been the stories where they've lost their entire portfolios. So yeah, our goal here is to help protect you as you're looking to move into multifamily investing, as you're looking to, change the course of your life or grow your portfolio. These are things that are important: educating yourself, having the proper systems. So we did shoot another video. This is the third one, which is not following fair housing laws. Why is that important, and where do people?
It is. So that falls into, Nate, people operating properties not knowing. So if you have a property or you're operating a property, you just purchased or you're looking to buy,
okay,
and now people are going to really be looking to buy, with the recession, the word recession being out there, people are going to get excited, which they should. But if you can't name the 7 protected classes under the Civil Rights Act of 1968, just the basic. So here, let's play with a scenario. Here's a scenario. Hey, I'm Joe Investor. I've taken an investor course. I'm excited. I got this here workbook, and I read how to wholesale apartments. I got this syndicator book. I've just purchased this whole PPM. I'm ready to raise money. I got this whole private placement. I'm ready to raise money. I'm ready to go. I've taken 3 days at someone's boot camp. I'm ready to get rocking and rolling. Yeah. And for the most part, a lot of these guys are going to buy something under 80 units, 40 units. They may be operating it themselves, or they may be handing it to a second party, right? Like we talked about. If you can't name the 7 protected classes under the Civil Rights Act of 1968, you shouldn't be investing in property.
Right.
You shouldn't be investing in property. And most people are going to be like, oh, this guy he's crazy. I mean, I'm the same guy that was talked about an inverted yield curve a year ago, and here we are. I'm the same guy that talked about rent softening in Class A markets and various different things, and here we are. You know what I mean? So am I crazy, or am I crazy like a fox? That's, that I'll let our viewers determine that. But at the end of the day, I've been doing this a very long time, so I understand, the mistakes that individuals make are not the mistakes a lot on the investment side. The mistakes come from the operational side. Once you own the property, then you get yourself sued, and you get your LLC sued, right, because you've done something wrong. So, not knowing those 7 protected classes: race, color, religion, sex, national origin, familial status, and person with disabilities, and knowing familial status and person with disability was added in 1988. What that means, what those definitions mean, how that impacts you operating your properties. It's important, man. Those 7 protected classes are very important, because there's 2 areas that you're going to get sued if you've been doing this long enough: security deposit claims and fair housing. And fair housing is tough to defend, really tough to defend. And you got to understand, when it comes to fair housing, you're guilty until you prove yourself innocent. When it comes to fair housing, you are guilty until you prove yourself. And the problem is proving yourself innocent, because most tenants, most slip and fall, they can lie better than you can tell the truth. So if you don't have the proper documentation, the proper operating systems in place for your property, and know when I say operating systems, that you got the keys on Monday after closing, you show up on Tuesday ready to go, ready to rock and roll, and you have no clue. You just think buying Buildium or Uptop or any other AppFolio, and you just think hooking up the software and having your accountant handle the bank accounts and a second party property manager, you're good to go. And you don't have the fundamentals and the understanding how to making sure that systems have been set up at your property and are being monitored,
Right.
not just handing the key over to a property manager going, okay, just send me my check every month. But no, you got to inspect what you expect. So yeah, I can go on and on about these fundamentals. But Nate, this is where it's won and lost, man. But this ain't sexy. No one wants to talk about this in a 3-day boot camp.
Yeah, they want taking the pictures in the jets and the planes and stuff, and that's all fine and good. You'll get there, but once again, you can lose it all if you're not following these fundamentals. If you're not
lose it all. One fair housing. Everyone is just one fair housing mistake away. You don't think they're just going to stop with the property management company. They're going to go all the way up to operations. They're going to try to go all the way to the owner. That's an attorney's job, is to throw every mud against the wall and see which one sticks. So if they can find negligence in any way, shape, or form, it can impact you. So at the end of the day, like I said, if you're just ignoring the operational side of things and everything is just exciting and gung-ho to you, because you've taken a 3-day boot camp or whatnot, or a 4-day boot camp, or 7 days in the desert with somebody, a guru, and you're ready to come out and put the work in and think that, just underwriting and learning how to put together syndications, that's just a part of it.
Right.
The puzzle, Nate. That's just a part of it. The most important piece is the operational piece. All said and done, the most important piece. If you're going to get from point A to point B, you're going to get to those promotes after you offer a pref, and you're to get to the promotes. That's the most important part of it. It's a lot easier messing around with institutional assets than it is those 40 to 80 units. That's tough work.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's an uphill sled because, again, if I have a 250 unit apartment complex, I'm buying it with a staff already in place. Typically, the staff is already trained. They have typically at that level, they've taken some kind of courses from the National Apartment Association. They receive, Nate, they receive CAM, they receive their LCAM, they receive all kind of maintenance training, so on and so. They're trained at a very high level. You can walk to any apartment complex, any professionally run apartment building, and ask them on the spot about the 7 protected classes. And I'm safe to buy you lunch to say that they'll give you those 7 protected classes. Yeah. Now, if you were to try to do the same thing at a small apartment complex, rent it out in your local neighborhood somewhere, and ask the owner, hey, are even some of the realtors out there that are doing property management on spot, ask them, give me the 7 protected classes and see what happens. See what happens.
Exactly.
That's the same person. That's the same person you got in charge running your multi-million-dollar asset,
right?
Or $100,000 asset, whatever it is, you duplex, quad, small apartment building you bought. That's the same person you got running that building.
Exactly. Well, this all comes back to educating yourself, and we put together one heck of a course. So number 4 is not understanding how to screen tenants. Why is that something that people make mistakes on, and why does that cause problems?
Screening tenants, again, just like fair housing, it comes back to fundamentals. These are the fundamentals that you have to focus on. There's a ton of different issues that could happen. So let's just talk about 2 or 3. Yeah. Bringing tenants in that you're not screening can have a huge issue. You bring a tenant in, you don't screen that tenant. All right, you just move them in because they got a fistful of money, and you've been sitting on this vacancy for a while. They seem nice, they look good, they're well dressed. You move them in. You find out either a couple of things: they might be a sex offender, or they might have a record. Let's just say an aggressive record. Been in a few bar fights, right? Tenant comes home one night, sees another tenant. Tenant parks in the wrong parking spot. This particular tenant that has the background that you didn't check, aggressive background, gets into the fight, injures the other tenant. Other tenant sues you. Wow. And what happens? Did you screen? No, you didn't screen. Had you screened, you would have found out that this guy's been in multiple fist fights and has 2 felonies for assault and battery, 1 with a deadly weapon, so on and so forth. Now where's the liability fall?
On you.
Directly on you, because you're moving in the tenant. That's just one, scenario. Like I said, you have your sex offender scenario. You got countless amount of scenarios that can happen that can bring this whole thing down. Right. And at the end of the day, don't say, oh, well, that's what insurance is for.
Man.
Let me just stop real quick and tell you about insurance and how that goes down. Because again, this is not what is being taught.
Yeah.
Most of the investing classes. This is past the book.
Yeah, absolutely.
your property manager should know this. You take your investment and you just give it to your just pass the buck, kick the can down the road, and you'll be okay. That's on the property manager. I got something coming for you if you think that's the right approach. So understanding that, or the mindset, that's why I have my umbrella policy. When the insurer comes in, the adjuster comes in, the adjuster is going to say, well, may I see you are running this property yourself, Mr. Johnson? Yeah. Can I see your procedures manuals? Can I see your operating systems? Can I see how you screen the tenants? Well, I don't have any of that. Well, if you don't have that, sir, you don't have a business. We insure the business. We insure the property management. We insure this building. We expected you to run this like a business. You got to be careful. There's a lot of little loopholes where they'll try to come around and say, well, we insure the business. This doesn't seem like a business. And God forbid you own the property in your own personal name. They definitely got a loophole. They're like, oh, no, we insure the business. We didn't insure an individual. Oh, no, well, I created an LLC. Well, can I see, number one, that LLC, because it's a business? Can I see its business plan? Can I see its operating systems? Can I see its, have you registered? Have you kept your registration up to date? Can I see all this? Well, I don't have it. It's not up to date. It's been dissolved, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Well, we cover the business. We insure the business. We didn't insure an individual. So now they pierced the corporate veil, and now they're coming after you personally and your personal assets. So, at the end of the day, man, it's you think insurance, you think everything is hunky dory. Like I said, you're good to go. You read a few books. You took a boot camp. You've been in the desert with a guru at his retreat. Okay. All right.
Right. And I can tell you, I've been traveling with you for years, Bryan, and I've seen all the other investors, the gurus and stuff. And this definitely is not stuff they talk about, no disrespect to them, but these are things where you've got all the confidence in the world. You got your fistful of money and you go out and get your properties, and everything can fall out from underneath you, if you don't follow these rules and take the time to put together well-written leases, learn how to screen these tenants, get education, so on and so forth. So let's move into the next one, man. Not conducting market surveys, every few months. Why is it important, and why do people get that wrong?
Right. So not conducting your market surveys kind of, again, falls on the operator, heavily on the shoulders of the operator, i.e. the landlord, the property manager. Not continuing to have your finger on the pulse of market surveys. I mean, everyone knows you make money in this business by maximizing income, minimizing expenses, the periodic pay down of your principal of the investment while you increase the cash flow. That's investing 101. Well, how are you increasing cash flow? Like this value add deal. I'm amazed at how many deals that we can find where the owner just hasn't raised rents in 2 or 3 years. Reluctant. This particular property we're looking at putting under contract hasn't raised rents in God knows how long, but he says, I'm comfortable. I've owned it for 15 years. And he's right. He's comfortable. He's a private owner that doesn't run it like a professional operation, does a good job with taking care of it and maintaining the building, but on the operational side does a horrible job. So, at the end of the day, the whole idea behind this to add value is to increase the operating income. And if you're a syndicator, you're an investor, you're going to look to refinance at some point. If your rents are not where they need to be, it's going to be really tough to get that refi done. The idea is you're adding value to the investment. Really, the only way you can add value to the investment is to increase the net operating income. But if you have no idea about net operating income and those values and how to increase, and obviously we know net operating income is 99.9% is made up of rent. Right. So if you don't really understand how to periodically raise the rents, and you're not periodically keeping pace and raising rents, then you're really not adding value to the property. So that's why that is important. It all comes down to value, Nathan. Right.
So value is important. You guys can see as you are moving into the realm of real estate investing in apartment buildings, and also running a syndication, the level of sophistication you bring to the table by knowing these things, by doing this work, and if you're looking at handing someone some money because they have, this real estate investment background, you might want to start paying attention to these things and asking, can you show me these?
You should have a questionnaire.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you sit down with these property managers, if this is what you're going to do and hand it off to a second party, you need to be able to screen them. Again, it comes down to inspect what you expect.
Right.
So you need to be able to screen these tenants or screen these property managers to make sure that they have your best interests at heart. They're doing, let's go through the list real quick, that they're educating themselves. They've got some sort of certifications, that they're following proper systems. Can I see your systems? Can I see your property management software? Can I see your annual, your quarterly, monthly reporting? Can I, do you understand fair housing? Do you know fair housing? Question them. Do you understand? Can I see your tenant screening process? What does that look like? Can I see your qualifying criteria? If you don't have any, for me, I'm submitting qualifying criteria and I'm telling the property manager, this is the qualifying criteria that I've set up for this property. They're not going to have to. I'm going to hand them qualifying criteria. Here's the leases. So here are the rules and regulations for this property. So at the end of the day, how many operators are doing this? How many operators even have access to this?
Yeah, no, absolutely right. And so here's another one. This is another pitfall that investors tend to face, and you can talk about, why this is important. Not properly maintaining your property. Why does that get people in trouble?
Well, not properly maintaining your property falls back on the other, back to the net operating income and adding value. Very hard to add value when you haven't focused on curb appeal.
Right.
You can see all the countless videos I've shot and what we do and what we'll do with this next project. Some may say put lipstick on a pig, spruce up the curb appeal. Then you begin to focus on increasing the rents. Being able to understand how to maintain that, how to maintain the property and make sure your curb appeal is on point. All kind of falls back on professional management, and at the end of the day, it really has much to do about increasing the net operating income. Very hard to raise rents on folks when they haven't seen you do any improvements on the property.
Absolutely, and you don't have to pour a lot of money into it, but it's just making sure that you maintain that property to a higher level of high standard. So moving into the next one, not building the proper team and network infrastructure.
Yep. Now that kind of, you think those are common sense, but common sense ain't common. But if you're the smartest person on your team is in trouble.
Right.
So you want to make sure you surround yourself with great people. Maintenance is not my strong suit, so I got Jose going out there handling maintenance. And Samaya, his wife, handles the cleaning and a lot of the detailing on the property when they're out there doing work orders. Just maintaining the work orders and staying on top of work orders is extremely important. Putting yourself around a good team, having a great accountant, having a great attorneys. Big shout out to my guys. You can find them on our multifamily meetup page. But we work with great attorneys, and we'll be bringing in two guys that I'm going to announce here in the next couple of weeks that just do an outstanding job, on the syndication and the PPM side. Anything real estate related, they do a great job. So just making sure you surround yourself with a great team is half of it. If you're really not focused on property management and you're really not focused on putting a good team around yourself, you might have been able to get away with this over the last 10 years. But with this inverted yield curve, you can consider this. If you're a golfer, you'll understand. You start to hear the thunder clouds.
Right.
You'll start paying attention when you're on that tee box. You're in the middle of that fairway. You start paying attention, and then you begin to read the tea leaves. So you'll see, and a lot of people who are not buying based on fundamentals, and they really don't know how to operate the property. They're not focused on prospect tenants. You'll see a lot of individuals, catch a dropping knife, which is okay with me at the end of the day. If you didn't stop to get yourself educated, I'll be glad to help you out with apartment rescue out of that, from that dropping knife. We'll be glad to swoop in and make you an offer. So, I see opportunity. There's going to be a ton of opportunities like that because people are losing sight of fundamentals.
Exactly. So, yes. What was that?
The market's been so good.
Yeah.
You can be void of fundamentals and still look like you know what you're doing.
I've seen a lot of that, in increased confidence, and it's, the market's carrying you. So, definitely make sure you follow your fundamentals. So there's another one is not enforcing your rules and your regulations. Where do investors go wrong with that?
Well, yeah, and again, that is at the property management level. This is
Okay.
these are more operational level questions, top tens. Not making sure you're a property manager or you as the manager uh, enforcing your rules and regulations is a huge mistake. I never want to allow my tenants to what's the old saying, mistake my kindness for a weakness.
Right.
I never, I'm heavy on the rules and regulations. You get them. There's that set that I set the tone at the move-in meeting. I'm making sure our property manager set the tone at the move-in meeting. Go over the qualifying criteria, go over the rules and regulations. What are our expectations, and yeah, those are things that you don't want to lax on because when individuals lose sight or tenants begin to see that you're not really big on the follow up, and you're not really big on following up with rules and regulations or enforcing the rules and regulations, things can get out of control really quick.
Absolutely. And we say operational level, this is operation. I mean, I would say that, we have these goals of moving into the syndication and doing those types of things, but there's a lot of people, you are going to be doing this yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
By your first,
especially at that 5 to 80 units. Absolutely. Yeah. You'll be doing a lot of this yourself in the beginning. Yeah. If no matter if you're a syndicator, and if you are a syndicator, you should be
exactly
rolling your sleeves back and at least establishing and helping to train the team and staff in the beginning, and or helping with implementation or being involved or watching the implementation of a second party property management company, making sure and ensuring that all these things are taken care of. You should have a checklist.
Yeah.
Qualifying criteria, rules and regulations. You should have, this checklist that you're making sure that the property management company you hired is implementing that.
Exactly. So, and here's the final one. So, not treating real estate investing as a business.
What was it? That's the last one?
Yeah.
Not treating it, yeah. Wow. So I guess if you listen to this, and hopefully it doesn't come off as a rant. And hopefully it comes off as I'm just telling you from experience, not what I heard, but what I know. And this last one, number 10, not treating it as a business is extremely important. You got to treat real estate investing as a business. If you don't walk into this and there's no business plan, there's no management plan for the property you just bought, and you're just going to show up on day one and begin to just kind of willy-nilly it all around and base your stuff on stuff you've read, hopefully the stuff you are reading will tell you, hey, no, when you step in, when you're in the due diligence, you need to be working on a management plan. You need to be focusing on a management plan for that property. A business plan for your business, whatever LLC, typically you'll have, and I'm going high level here, but typically you'll have an independent investor. They're going to own it in the LLC if they're smart. And then if they're even smarter, they should own another LLC where they do their property management out of. And then you'll want to insure both of those, right? Minimal insurance. So you have your minimal insurance with that, and you're operating out of that. With those businesses, you should have a business plan. So if an adjuster comes in and asks you or questions you and says, is this a business? You can say, well, of course it's a business. Matter of fact, here's the business plan. Here's my operations manual for this business. It runs like a business. But a lot of people don't do that. It would be safe to say that if we had 100 viewers, 1,000 viewers watch this video and they own anywhere between 5 to 50 unit apartment buildings or just 5 to 50 units in general, I would say that probably 90% of them do not have procedures manuals for their the way they operate their property and or a management plan for each of their rental properties. So, those are important. And a management plan kind of reflects a business plan, but it's specific to a property on how you're going to increase and maximize income and minimize expenses. How you're going to get to point A to point B. But it's fair to say that a lot of people do not have that. How many boot camps and gurus have you sat and they've walked you through a management plan for the property? No, they say that's the job of the second party manager. No, it's not. No, it's not.
Yeah.
If you're not inspecting what you expect, what kind of syndicator are you? Shame on you. You're raising people's money. you know, and your responsibility is to take care of other people's money, and you haven't dotted all your I's and crossed your T's. You haven't inspected what you expected. Shame on you.
Right. No, and that's huge. I mean, if you're watching this video, if you're looking to become a syndicator and you want to build confidence, make sure you're following these steps and, checking for any areas of weakness, educating yourself, making sure you're actually running this as a business. And if you're looking to give your hand your finances over to someone that actually says they're a syndicator, please do your research and do your due diligence and make sure that it's someone you can stand behind. It's still a risk, but you want to make sure that you've done the research and that they are capable of actually managing your investment. So
that's correct,
man.
That is correct. Wise words.
Yeah, exactly, Bryan. Thank you so much, man, for breaking down these pitfalls and sharing from your own personal experience. I'm excited for you and the growth of your business. And shouts out to one of your coaching students, John, who just bought his duplex.
Johnny bought his duplex. My partner, Joe Ebanks, will have his first apartment building here in the next couple of days. And we did it within a year's time of partnering up. So shout out to the cash man on that, and Johnny Vandal for buying his property. Debbie Gonzalez bought her first apartment building. So a lot of my coaching clients are doing well, and they're achieving, and they're elite. That's what the Bryan Chavis Elite Coaching is all about. Is this is elite. This is we're trying to bring these individuals up in the way that they're going to be successful, and they'll be successful no matter what in any type of economic conditions. So
exactly.
Learn more about that, please visit bryanchavis.com, or definitely check us out on our YouTube channel, Bryan Chavis /YouTube, I believe .com. So we'll post a link here for anyone watching on Facebook. And definitely shout out to our sponsors, and we'll have a few. We'll be going through those next week. So excited about the things to come in Content Tuesday, man. It's we call it Content Tuesday, but we'll probably shoot content at any day and probably drop it on Tuesday. But
yeah, exactly. You see the lights back here. We're shooting content all the time. So
we're shooting content all the time. So we're excited about all these things to come.
Yep. And Bryan, once again, thank you so much. And for all you guys who are watching, please go to bryanchavis.com. Make sure you sign up. We are going to be releasing the masterclass pretty soon. This is just one of the segments that we talk about, and we go into a lot of detail into how to not fall into these pitfalls. If you want to get into real estate investing, this is the team that can help you, take it to the next level. Once again, like and subscribe and share this with anyone that is into real estate investing. Thank you guys, and we look forward to speaking to you next week.
All right. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Everyone be blessed. Take care. And yes, please like and please share these videos if you find them helpful. So please. Thank you.